Hey, we're here at E3, and we're talking about the only four I actually care about at E3, Saints Row Part 4. That's why I came here. I got my purple headphones on. It's one of my favorite games of all time. We're talking to Jim Boone, the senior producer on Saints Row. Or
Yes.
it's not it's just Saints Row 4, not the fourth.
Just Saints Row 4.
Why the change?
We kept it simple this time
Okay.
because we're a very sophisticated game, and so we just thought we'd be sophisticated by just going with 4.
It's the kind of game that you drink tea and play amongst friends. You know?
Absolutely, exactly.
So this game, this one, it's set to be one of the most patriotic games this year.
Yes,
And,
right.
Why did you go for this? This patriotism. The leader of the Third Street Saints becomes the president of the United States.
Yes.
Why? How does that happen?
Well, in our twisted world, we figure that doesn't it make sense for the player to become president in a strange way? Starts off in a gang, right? Becomes the leader of the Saints, becomes a big pop icon, pop culture icon. So what's left for him to do? Why not be leader of the free world? It just seems like a very logical sort of transition for him.
It's a very politically charged game. You guys are dealing with illegal aliens coming in and
Indeed.
causing damage in there.
Yes.
Are you afraid of the flack that might happen by dealing with such politically charged topics?
I think this one is okay because I suspect that the whole world would be behind this particular alien invasion. Behind us trying to prevent that one. So, yeah.
This series really and. I asked you about this earlier. The one question I wanted to ask you if Tim Thomerson was involved in there because he's the voice of Jack Death from Transers and also the stag leader in here. And you already gave me your answer. Can you give the answer to the general public?
Yeah. My wonderful answer to you is we can't really talk about whether or not he's in the game or not. So that's stuff to be revealed at a future date.
Does
Except for a tease.
any aspects of Saints Row the Third play into this upcoming Part 4?
Yeah, in terms of the story, we didn't want to do too much into that because our thought was, for people who want to come to Saints Row for the first time, we didn't want there to be a ton of stuff where they felt like I'm totally missing out, I don't get it. But so what we did instead is we layered in a ton of references for the longtime fans. So if you've been playing Saints Row for a while, you're going to pick up on a ton of things that other people won't know about. But we didn't want to weave it into the narrative so tightly that people feel like if they hadn't played it before, where they're just lost and not sure what's going on. So there's plenty there. You'll see a lot of references from everything all the way back to Saints Row 1 for those who have been longtime fans.
So one of my favorite parts of the Saints Row franchise has been the music. And the music in Part 3 was phenomenal. You had a Kanye West song in there before it became the Sports Center theme song.
Yes.
You guys hit it way before. And in this one, you have a dubstep gun. You guys are very in tune with what's going on. What can we see in highlights of music in this Part 4
God,
of the franchise?
We're so excited to be able to reveal our full playlist. Unfortunately, that's an announcement that's coming soon. We always have to do that. But I will say that we've spent a lot of time doing a very similar sort of thing like we did with 3, where we're trying to find what's the new thing, who are the new artists that hopefully will be breaking around the time the game comes out. And we definitely have some people in mind that we think people are going to be pretty excited about. And we're pretty happy with this soundtrack.
So this time around, your character has superpowers.
Yes.
Being just a professional gangster before wasn't super enough. They are now superhero level saints. How does this happen? And what powers can we see in this game?
Yeah, sure. So what happens is when the Zin invade the Earth, they end up abducting the president along with the rest of the Saints, your homies, your lieutenants, and then they put you in this virtual world where their intention is to try to break your will and indoctrinate you and make you part of the Zin Empire. And so because this whole thing is a simulation, you're able to tap into the simulation and start to tweak it and break the rules. So that's how you get the superpowers. So when you're in the real world, you don't have the superpowers. And there we get to introduce a lot of change-based gameplay where you'll see things like giant mechs and other things we've not yet revealed. But where there's some fun things to still do in the real world. But when you're in the open world, that's why you get the superpowers, because you're in this virtual world. And then in terms of the superpowers themselves, it's everything from navigation abilities. I mean, you can run at super high speeds, crazy jumps. You can glide through the air. Just the way you navigate through the city is totally different than anything you've done before. And then in terms of the offensive superpowers, you have things like telekinesis, where you can pick up cars and just fling them at bad guys, or you have things like buff, where it'll set your character on fire and anyone that's close by will immediately get consumed in flame, and your rounds are incendiary rounds. So if you're shooting guys from a distance, they all get caught on fire. There's a lot of different abilities that you'll get that way, and all those abilities are all upgradable. So when you go through the world, there's these clusters that you'll collect, and the more clusters you get, that's what you use to upgrade the superpower abilities, which then help you get the clusters a little more easily. And it's a really fun loop. It's incredibly addictive. We see people just spend hours going around collecting clusters and upgrading powers.
That world where you can have your powers, magnified. It sounds like the Matrix a lot. And I knew you guys were working on Enter the Dominatrix.
Yes.
How much of that was brought into Saints Row the Fourth?
There's a number.
Part 4.
Yeah, Part 4. There's a number of elements actually we did bring over from that, and we still want to release a bit of a director's cut of Enter the Dominatrix to see how it's different and what kinds of things we had in mind with that expansion pack. But definitely things like superpowers were a big element of Enter the Dominatrix, and those are things that by being a full featured game, it gave us the time to really buff those things out and polish it up to the state where we're really happy with it. So that's been awesome for us to be able to take it and do that with it. But yeah, you definitely picked up on the right pop culture reference. That's you're in the simulation that's not too unlike what you might expect from the Matrix, and it's a fun way to be able to give the player a bunch of new abilities.
And that gets me to another point. And my final question: what the hell are you guys on at Volition? Like, what are you using? I mean, I play these games like they're tapping into my subconscious. They're using aliens. Like, it's like, what are they doing? This is like, I want to lead a gang of skeleton guys who fight professional wrestlers and everything. What are you guys on there at Volition? What is it? What are you guys using to make this?
We're just on joy and happiness. That's all. Yeah, it's fun. Like, one of the things that's so awesome about Saints Row is that when we sit around coming up with ideas, we usually start off with, like, what is going to be fun rather than, like, what's over the top. And over the top is still a big part of it, and we call it embrace the crazy, right? And we want to be very irreverent, but we try not to do it just for the sake of being over the top. So it usually will start off with, like, what's a fun mechanic that we can add to the game, and then what kinds of things can we layer on top of that to take it the next level. And so a lot of our brainstorming sessions, as you might imagine, they're pretty bizarre. We come up with a lot of crazy stuff. And like one of the examples our lead designer will constantly talk about is at one point we actually created a dragon, a rideable dragon in the game, in Saints Row 4. You could fly around, you could breathe fire on people, and it's not in the game, not to get hopes up.
Yeah.
The only reason it's not in the game was because we didn't think we'd have enough time to do it justice and to get it just right. It wasn't because we couldn't find a place to put it.
I swear this interview can go on forever. I could talk to you forever, but I'm going to ask you two more questions.
Sure.
What's your favorite superhero, favorite wrestler?
Oh, my. Favorite superhero would be Wolverine. And favorite wrestler is Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
I grew up in Hulk Hogan, so it's got to be Hulk Hogan.
Sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time. And
Absolutely.
Once said, I'm looking forward to this game. I love it.